Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Soul Calibur video. Now with Soul Calibur 6 a week away, I figured it'd be a great time to talk about the possible guest characters we could see in the future here, as we only currently have Geralt in the game right now, and let's face it, fighting games haven't exactly shied away from putting in guest characters. Whether you like them or you hate them, you can't deny that they do bring in some very interesting crossovers. Now in saying that, not all guest characters are really that good. But in saying that, I wanted to talk about the possible guest characters we could see in the season pass, what are their chances, and who would be the viable candidates that could make the cut. Now the characters that I'll be talking about will be ones I've heard that are in quite high demand from the community, characters that have been rumoured, and ones that may indeed be viable for this list. So without any further ado, let's start talking about them. Now this one should be fairly obvious as he is on the thumbnail, Dante from Devil May Cry. Now Dante is a really good choice for a Soul Calibur game, not just because of his playstyle, but Dante himself as a character just oozes personality. His cheeky and likable mannerisms make him a joy to watch and play, and this could lead to some very unique and entertaining interactions with the world and its characters. Now what also does help Dante's chances of actually making it into the game is the fact that we do have Devil May Cry 5 around the corner, so in that instance it would be foolish for me to not mention at least the possibility of this character in a crossover, seeing as there's a lot of hype going around Devil May Cry 5, even if not all of it is positive, but it's still a great way of bringing outside people into this game. And also if we take into account that the last fighting game crossover he was in wasn't great. Now I know some of you may be worrying about the use of his guns Ebony and Ivory, and let's face it, all of us are still probably suffering PTSD from Injustice 2 and Deadshot zoning, but I'm sure if they were to involve Dante in a Soul Calibur game, they'd put a lot of emphasis on using his Rebellion sword. Plus Dante's soul charge could literally be him activating his devil trigger, which would be a really cool transformation in game, and obviously a very nice homage to the rest of the Devil May Cry series. So personally, I feel like Dante would be a great inclusion to Soul Calibur 6. He's the iconic face of the series. There's a lot to love about him and his character, and his fighting style could easily be some of the most stylish stuff we've ever seen in the Soul Calibur series. So I personally feel like Dante would fit into this universe extremely well. Now for this section, I'm not really going to be focusing on a particular character, but I do see this idea being thrown out quite a lot and thought that it's at least worth talking about it here. And that is the implementation of a character from Dark Souls, because I have seen a lot of people ask for Artorias and Ornstein. Now, as super fucking cool as that would be, as let's face it, those are two really nice character designs, characters from the Dark Souls universe don't really transfer too well over into a series like Soul Calibur. And I know that's quite a questionable statement, but allow me to elaborate on why I feel that way. Dark Souls as a series has always been focused on its gameplay and world building, not so much on the characters that inhabit it through the traditional styles of storytelling. The majority of bosses within the series have little to no personality because of this. In terms of world building and characterization, From Software's never really needed to rely on cutscenes to tell their stories, but instead rely on items scattered throughout the game world in order to explain the story and what's going on. And in many ways it's a very refreshing and different approach to storytelling, but that is also the somewhat downfall that it will have if it transitions into a series like Soul Calibur. You see, the characters of the Soul Calibur universe all do have a shtick, something that makes them unique to the world and roster, and on top of that, they all have character to them. Nightmare has his weird dark edgelord dialogue, and Ivy has her weird sexual innuendos. So what I mean by this is that they all do have a gimmick and they all stick to it well. From these gimmicks come these larger than life personalities, and that's just something that's lacking from characters in Dark Souls because of their boss status. That and a different style of storytelling. I feel like implementing a character like that without much personality can really somewhat hinder their interaction with not only the world, but also the other characters that lie within it. Now it's not all bad, because in saying that, I really would like to see Artorias or Ornstein make it in some way, shape or form, even if that is in character customization. I'm not the biggest Dark Souls fan, but I must certainly appreciate the series as a whole. Plus at this point in time, the Dark Souls series is all wrapped up. The only thing that Bandai Namco can really do with the series is just keep remastering it. So with the Dark Souls series being put to rest, I believe it's quite safe to say that the chances of them implementing a character over is most likely not going to happen. Now our next character is someone that I see a lot of people have been requesting, and is definitely someone I personally would like to see in game, Guts from Berserk. It would be absolutely insane for me to not at least mention Guts here. He's by all intents and purposes a demon slaying, monster crushing, giant sword wielding badass, and even then it doesn't don't really do this character justice. Now Guts, out of all of the characters I've mentioned here on this list and will mention later, aesthetically fits into the world better than most characters, and that may be because his world shares a lot of similarities with the Soul Calibur universe. Although I will say the world of Berserk is much more grim and features a lot more messed up stuff, but Guts as a character would just fit into the world so well. Plus it's not like the series has ever shied away from having ridiculous over-the-top sword gameplay, so again in that instance he would just fit right in. Plus I would completely fan out if his soul charge was him fully succumbing to his berserker armor. But in also saying that, do I think he'll ever make it in? Sadly no, I don't think that will be the case, which trust me is a massive downer for me too. Now the reason why I say this is because unlike the other guest characters who previously appeared in the series, none have been from a manga or anime origin. A majority of guest characters who have appeared in the Soul Calibur games have been from really big hits at the time. A good example of this are the Star Wars characters in Soul Calibur 4 when the Force Unleashed games were really popular, the inclusion of Ezio Auditore in Soul Calibur 5, as that's where the series peaked at its very early stages. So really a guest character has to have a lot of appeal and needs a star power to bring in an audience. Not saying that Guts doesn't have that star power, but you see right now the Berserk series is in a weird place. After its really mixed reception from its 2016 anime run, its future is somewhat up in the air. So in terms of popularity, I don't feel like the inclusion of Guts in Berserk right now would bring in a lot of people. That's not to say that it can't change in the future, but of just how it is now, it's left the series in a very odd place. As much as I'd like this character to make it in, right now I just don't see it happening. But hopefully in the future, if there's more Soul Calibur games, he'll make an appearance in there. Now another character that was actually suggested to me whilst I was streaming was Corvo from the Dishonored series. Now I'm just going to simplify things and say it's no for Corvo. Now one of the reasons I do say this is because of the disappointing sales of Dishonored 2. They were pretty poor, so I highly doubt they'd want to include this character in the game because of that. Again, it's cross promotion and they'd want a character to be in the game if it benefits both sides. Now in terms of gameplay, Corvo was known as an assassin, someone who swiftly comes in the night to kill you with no collateral damage if possible. Now that isn't just him, but more so the gimmick of the Dishonored series as a whole, because they are for the most part stealth action games, as you are in turn rewarded for your approach towards the world. But here's the thing, Corvo's an assassin, not someone who wants to fight toe to toe with someone unless there's no other options. In this case, he somewhat seems out of his element. Now I'm well aware that we did get Ezio in Soul Calibur 5, so the whole him being an assassin thing isn't exactly a strong argument, but in saying that, when we compare him to a majority of other characters on this list, who are from games that focus very heavily and upfront in your face sword gameplay, he just seems rather outclassed in comparison, because again, like I said, he is from a stealth action game. So personally, I don't think his chances of making it in are rather high at all. Now our next character should be fairly obvious, as I feel like everyone has been asking for her, and well, she is on the thumbnail, 2B. Now I'm not going to act like I've actually played Nier Automata, but I'm not going to pretend like I haven't heard any of the amazing praise and success that has come from that game, especially as it's seen by many as the game that saved Platinum Games. As you see, Platinum Games, the game developers, have been in a really weird place for a very long amount of time. You may recognize them as the devs that were behind Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Bayonetta, and obviously Nier. Now though Platinum Games most certainly has some really good games under their wings, they've also had many duds over the years, and they were also the gaming studio that were behind Scalebound, an Xbox exclusive game that was cancelled mid-development. So Platinum were in a very weird place, but luckily with the creation of Nier Automata and the fantastic praise that it did get and deserve, it really did help them all out in a bad place. So the appearance of 2B here could really bring in some outsiders on the game. That is essentially what Geralt's appearance in the game is supposed to do, because like I mentioned, cross promotion. It'd be extremely important to have a guest character that people want in Soul Calibur 6, as well as bring more eyes on Platinum Games and more people to purchase Nier Automata. Again, this would benefit both sides extremely well. Now in terms of appearance, 2B surprisingly fits into the Soul Calibur world aesthetically very well. You see, in terms of appearance, the Soul Calibur 6 girls have always had this femme fatale appeal to them. They are sexy in some way, shape and form, but also as tough as nails and will split you in two in a blink of an eye. So I feel like that's characteristics that 2B can tick off rather well. Now what's somewhat icing on the cake for this is the type of game she does originate from. The hack and slash style could really complement her moveset, and many moves could be implemented across, the same way that the signs have been utilized in Geralt's moveset. So again, there's nice little homages and details that they can add across games. games. Now in terms of personality, I don't really know what to work with 2B, as I'm not too familiar with her, but strictly from a business standpoint, I can't help but feel like 2B would bring in a lot of people to play the game and also benefit Platinum Games tremendously, because Nier Automata has received a lot of praise over the last year and is still continuing to get said praise. So again, it benefits both sides. But yeah, that more or less wraps up some of the guest characters that I've seen the community talk about for this video. I hope you've all enjoyed it and learned more by watching. Remember, this for the most part is strictly my opinion, but for the most part I wanted to talk about how certain characters would benefit the game and how they most importantly would fit into it. Remember, the gaming industry is always constantly evolving and moving, meaning that some of the characters that I have mentioned here that I don't believe will be in now may end up being in the game much later. The chances of guest characters' appearance fluctuate all of the time. Whether it's to the benefit of either side depends on the time frame. Also, down in the comments below, please do let me know what guest character would you like to see in game. That, and most importantly, why do you want them in game? I'm just interested to hear what everyone has to say. Now, just a heads up, over the next few days I'll be getting a certain game in the mail, not saying what it is, it should be fairly obvious from this title, so you can expect a review of said game next week. Anyway guys, before this video wraps up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel since YouTube's ad system is broken as hell. That and the fact that they aren't putting my videos in your sub boxes for some reason. So by giving a thumbs up and ringing the bell, it helps out this channel a ton. Now as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.